Hey everyone, welcome back to the Incredibly India podcast series. I'm Sam.
And joining me is Taylor.
It's great to be back.
Fantastic to be here. And today we're doing a deep dive that I think cuts right through the usual tourist idea of one of the world's most famous places, Goa.
Absolutely, because when you say Goa, people immediately think of, beaches, markets.
The coastline, yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe all that Portuguese-style architecture you still see.
Exactly. But our mission today is to go deeper, to trace Goa's sacred timeline way beyond that. We're asking, where does the real spiritual and political story of this land actually begin?
And the goal for you, the listener, is to get a kind of shortcut, a really fast, clear understanding of Goa's evolution through three incredibly important temples.
Right. Tamdi Surla, Mangeshi, and Saptakoteshwar.
Exactly. We aren't just looking at, isolated buildings. We're tracking almost 1,000 years of history told through stone and movement.
And the core insight we really pulled from all this is that Goa's oldest, most important conversations, they're happening far away from the sea.
So far away.
They're deep in the forests, along these old riverbeds, and in these amazing temple courtyards. We're following a journey where stone and belief and the land itself first came together and then had to adapt.
That's the key takeaway right there. We're heading inland. That's where you find the sacred and political heart of Goa, which honestly gets missed almost entirely if you just stick to the coast.
Okay, so our journey has to start at the beginning, both in time and place, at Tamdi Surla.
Mm-hmm.
And if you haven't been there, you really need to try and picture this. It's hidden, almost swallowed by the jungle, deep inside the Bhagwan Mahavir Wildlife Sanctuary.
It's not a place you just stumble upon.
No, you have to go looking for it.
And that isolation is really the central point of its story. Tamdi Surla is the oldest surviving temple in Goa. We're talking 12th century, built under the Kadamba dynasty.
And when you think about it, in a place where so much was, destroyed over the years or just reclaimed by the tropical climate,
Right.
the simple fact that Tamdi Surla is still standing is, well, it's the most profound thing about it.
And what really stood out was that its survival isn't an accident. It's not just luck. It was about deliberate, high-stakes architectural choices.
You mean the material it's made from?
Precisely. The material science they were using back in the 12th century is fascinating. The entire temple is built from locally sourced basalt,
Which is a volcanic stone, so it's
incredibly dense, and it has very low porosity. You can think of it as like the ultimate natural bodyguard for a building. It absorbs less water, it resists weathering.
So it holds up way better than the softer stone.
Exactly. You compare that to the laterite used in a lot of later Goan building basalt. Just withstands floods, humidity, political chaos, you name it. That one choice of material explains why it's still here when so much else from that time is just gone. It shows those builders really understood their environment.
Speaking of the environment, the placement is also key, right? It's right near a stream that feeds the Surla River. That seems like a really specific choice.
Oh, it was essential, not optional. This link between temples and a reliable water source is a classic pattern you see all over ancient Indian architecture. It ties the ritual life of the people directly to the ecological cycles that kept them alive.
Okay, so that's the practical side.
But here's where we get that aha moment where ancient planning connects to modern research.
I love this part. Using modern psychology to understand how people worshipped centuries ago.
Well, researchers point out that the forest microclimate itself is part of the temple experience. The cooler air, the dappled light filtering through the canopy, the constant sound of flowing water.
It changes how you feel.
It literally slows down your perception. It helps you focus, it improves memory, and it can create a really deep contemplative state. So even though the temple itself is pretty small, the environment makes the whole experience feel huge and immersive.
It's like the entire forest is part of the temple, a kind of natural sensory chamber designed for devotion.
That's a perfect way to put it.
And when you look at the carvings that have survived, the lotus motifs, the Shiva symbols, they're so intricate but restrained. It's not about being big and loud. It's about quiet, focused proportion.
Tamdi Surla is endurance, born from being isolated and being incredibly intelligently designed. It was built to last 1,000 years, and it did.
Okay, so let's shift gears. If Tamdi Surla is about survival through isolation, our next stop, Mangeshi, is about survival through, well, the complete opposite, through radical adaptation and movement.
And this marks a huge and honestly a really painful chapter in Goa's history.
Right. The whole landscape changes.
Mangeshi's deity wasn't originally where it is today. It was near the coast in a place called Kortalim, but the whole community had to pick up and move their center of worship inland.
This is during the 16th century Portuguese religious persecution.
Exactly. And we have to be clear, this wasn't just about moving an idol. It was about moving an entire community, its identity, its whole world.
I can't even imagine the logistics of that. It's not like they just went to the next village over. They were moving their gods through jungles and across rivers.
It was a monumental feat, but it was also a survival mechanism. You could almost call it faith as the ultimate carry-on baggage.
Like that.
It's this phenomenon of a mobile sacred identity. Entire communities would migrate with their gods, their priests, everything to keep their rituals going. The location changed, the buildings would be different, but the core relationship with the divine, that was preserved. It's a really powerful survival strategy.
And you see that change reflected so clearly in the architecture. Tamdi Surla is dark, cool, inward-looking basalt.
Right.
Mangeshi today is a statement. It's a bright white facade, that famous 7-story lamp tower, the deep stampa, and this huge open courtyard. It feels luminous and communal.
It's designed to hold hundreds of people for festivals, for social gatherings. It's a public display of faith, which is so different from the quiet seclusion of Tamdi Surla.
There's a completely different architectural language.
It is. And if you connect it to the bigger picture, Mangeshi shows how belief can act as this really stable operating system during massive social upheaval. The external world changed dramatically, but the internal continuity, the ritual calendar, it didn't break.
I have to ask, though, was this move only about faith? Or was there an economic reality to it, too? Like, was it also about preserving the community's wealth and safety with religion as the justification?
That's a great question. And it's never just one or the other. They're inseparable.
Yeah.
When the religious heart of your community is threatened, your entire economic and social structure is also at risk. By moving the deity to a safe place, the community reestablished its center. That allowed trade and farming and daily life to start again around that new secure point, that bright white facade at Mangeshi. It's like a beacon saying, we're here, we're safe, and we brought our gods with us. It's pure collective resilience.
Which brings us to our final stop, Saptakoteshwar. And this temple, it speaks a third language entirely. We've moved from forced seclusion and community survival to the language of state power.
This is where the focus shifts completely to the relationship between the ruler and the people. All the historical records, the inscriptions, they suggest Saptakoteshwar was, for a very long time, the most powerful Shaiva shrine in Goa.
And it was tied directly to the Kadamba kings.
Critically, it was a political site that was backed by religious legitimacy.
So, if Mangeshi was a temple for the community, Saptakoteshwar was the king's temple. The temple and the throne were basically one and the same.
That relationship, using divine legitimacy to reinforce royal rule, was common all over early Indian kingdoms. The ruler wasn't just a political leader. They were seen as the one who guaranteed cosmic order on Earth.
And they did that by supporting these major shrines.
They patronized them heavily. It allowed them to assert that cosmic order right alongside their political control. The temple provided, you could say, the spiritual warranty for the king's reign. It was an essential hub of power.
And just like Mangeshi, Saptakoteshwar was also destroyed during Portuguese rule and then rebuilt inland. So it follows that same pattern we've been seeing.
And that's the pattern that only reveals itself when you look at all three of these sites together in order. Goa's sacred geography, it didn't just vanish under colonial pressure.
It fractured.
It fractured, it relocated, and it adapted. It almost always moved deeper inland into the safer river valleys. So what we see today isn't just stone, it's the memory of a time when Goa's identity was being shaped just as much by its inland capitals as it was by its famous and very vulnerable sea trade.
It completely shifts the region's center of gravity. The coast was where the money came in, but the interior, that's where the power was held and where the identity managed to survive. So we've walked through endurance at Surla, adaptation at Mangeshi, and state power at Saptakoteshwar. Why is it so important to see these three together as part of one guided story?
Because when you look at them separately, they're just, impressive historical monuments,
Yeah.
which they are. But when you see them together, they form this coherent 1,000-year timeline. It's ecological, it's political, it's spiritual. It basically maps the soul and the resilience of the entire region. Without that context, you just see nice buildings. With it, you see the blueprint for Goan identity.
And there's research that shows this narrative approach actually helps us as travelers remember and connect more.
Exactly. Cognitive research on how we experience heritage sites is super clear on this. Visitors retain way more information, and this is the crucial part, they form a much deeper emotional connection when sites are presented as chapters in a story.
Instead of just isolated facts on a sign.
Right. You stop rushing from one checklist item to the next, and you actually start reading the story that the stones are telling you.
Which makes the role of a good guide so essential. They're like a translator, connecting the stone, the history, and the landscape.
Absolutely. A guide encourages you to notice the details we've been talking about. The shift from the dark, rough basalt in the jungle to the bright, smooth plaster of the community temple. They make the actual journey between the sites part of the story, showing you how Goa's Sacred Heart physically moved inland to survive. It's the difference between getting data and actually experiencing history.
That kind of quiet observation seems to be the key to unlocking this older, quieter Goa that so many people miss. Tamdi Surla shows how architecture listens to nature. Mangeshi shows how faith adapts and holds a community together under incredible pressure.
And Saptakoteshwar shows how power flowed through ritual.
Exactly, it's a complete lesson in resilience.
And that really is the final thought for you to take away. In a place with as many layers as Goa, understanding its sacred timeline, where it started, how it moved, and why it survived, that is the most rewarding experience you can have. It reveals the true depth behind that famous, beautiful coastline.
If you decide to travel to Goa, we have a recommendation. Five Senses Tours organizes tours across India which are immersive cultural experiences. You can email contact@fivesensestours.com. Note 5 is written as a numeral contact at fivesensestours.com. Or WhatsApp to +919 845 677 446